Welcome to an edition of Deep Purple. Haven't done one of these in a while, and I apologize for that. But you get into basketball season, and it gets a little hectic, and it's harder to sit down and do the graphics and everything you need to make this what I want it to be. But here I am, and today I'm going to talk about some blind resumes. Very cliche at this time of the year, and of course, one of them will be Kansas State. You might even be able to pick that off when I show you the four I'm going to reveal. But there's a couple things I'm trying to accomplish here. And it's not just about the NCAA tournament. It's also about the NIT. That's the reality of this Kansas State basketball season. As the Wildcats have now wrapped up their regular season with an impressive win over sixth-ranked Iowa State at home, they go to Kansas City still clinging to some hopes of making the NCAA tournament. Can they accomplish enough in Kansas City to do that? Jerome Tang thinks it's going to take 2 victories, which means beating Texas in Wednesday's first game, and then moving on to take on Iowa State and beating the Cyclones in the quarterfinals. That would put Kansas State in the semifinals. Remember, it's a 5-day tournament now, so 4 teams are starting on Tuesday. If they can get to the semifinals, I think they enter the conversation based on the rules that we can best assess that the committee might be following. And that's the issue here. We don't really know what this particular committee will want to balance and imbalance and what they're really going to look at. How important is this net ranking that the NCAA puts out after every game? It's kind of important, very important, not important at all, because that's what a lot of people are using right now to decide who they project to be in and out of the NCAA tournament. If it's not that valuable, then maybe K-State's in a better situation than we think. But I don't want to spoil things. Let's move on to our first blind resume. Now, first of all, these are all Big 12 teams, okay? I didn't want to step out of the conference. I wanted you to understand that we're looking at similar teams. So when you see the conference record, it is in the Big 12. And here we go. Here is your first blind resume for a school in the Big 12. This school has a net ranking of 43, an overall record of 20-11, and they are 8-10 in the Big 12. Oh yeah, all of these teams are very similar in conference record. Let's add in the rest of the goodies here. They're quad 1 wins. This is part of the net, and they put every team in quad 1, quad 2, 3, or 4. And of course, quad 1 is the best teams. This school is 4-11 at 26.7% in quad 1. They're 5-0 in quad 2, and they're 16-0 in quads 3 and 4. In other words, this resume is pretty strong because all of their losses are quad 1. They only have losses to really good teams. They haven't even lost to anyone in quad 2. So this resume looks good. Up next is another team that's 8-10 in the Big 12. They're 18-13 overall, but their net rating is 71, so much further down. Here are their quad wins and losses. Quad 1, they're 4-7, so they actually have a better winning percentage in quad 1 at 36.4%, but there you go. There's 6 losses in quad 2, and it's been quad 2 that's given this team the most issues at 40%, but they have no quad 3 and 4 losses. So that stands out to me. School number 3 from the Big 12, they're 41 in the net rankings, and that's pretty good, but they're 18-13 overall. They are 7-11 in the Big 12. So that net ranking is much higher than other schools in the conference. And here is the rest of their resume, so to speak. Quad 1, they're 3-10. They've only won 23% of their games against the best competition. They do have a quad 2 loss. They're 3-1 at 75%. Quads 3 and 4, they have losses to bad teams, and they're 12-2. That doesn't seem to be reflected in their net ranking, though, which seems odd to me. When you have 2 losses to teams that are considered in the lower half of NCAA Division I basketball, that seems like it would be a bigger ding. Let's move to team 4 now. They're 62nd in the net ranking. Okay, so they're down there a little bit. They're 16-14 overall. That's not too good. They're 7-11 in the Big 12, and here's the rest of the stuff. Quad 1, they're 4-9, so they're at 30.8%, almost 31%. They do have a couple quad 2 losses, but only a couple. They're at 500. And quad 3 and 4, they're 10-3. So they have the most quad 3 and 4 losses here at 77% of anyone in this discussion. So let's start looking at everything now. Comparison. Well, here they all are, all stacked up there. Just take a gander. It's really interesting to me. You see that third column in the middle there, 8-10, 8-10, 7-11, 7-11. I have ranked these by their Big 12 seeding, and they're all very similar in their seeding. And I thought this was an interesting way to go about it. But now let's reveal the top team, who I think is a solid NCAA tournament team, and that is Oklahoma. Oklahoma is in the field. There's no doubt about it. Boy, they've been really good against teams they should beat. A great job by the Sooners this season of kind of picking up where the pieces didn't fall in place last year. Resume 2, you might recognize. It is K-State. They're at 71. They have the lowest net of these four schools. They're 18-13, 8-10. Like I said, though, what's odd about this is they have the highest winning percentage in quad 1 of out of these schools, but quad 2, frankly, they've kind of stunk it up. But quads 3 and 4, as Jerome Tang pointed out on Saturday after the win over Iowa State, they're unbeaten. They have no really bad losses, which I think says something. Resume 3 belongs to Cincinnati. Now, this is a Cincinnati team that has been flirting with the NCAA tournament all season long, and they have the highest net ranking of any of the schools. I can't explain how the net comes up with this. Yeah, they've played a lot of quad 1 teams, but they're 3-10. They've got a horrible winning percentage against quad 1 teams. They went 7-11 in the conference, which is pretty good enough. I don't think it's good enough to get in the tournament. And they're that 12-2, those 2 losses to bad teams kind of sticks out. And now when I reveal this final team, you're going to understand what I'm up to here. This is UCF. They are above Kansas State, a team that beat them by 25 points. So that apparently doesn't matter in any way to the net. It was a dominating game. And in fact, their overall record at 16-14 is worse than Kansas State, and 7-11 is worse than Kansas State. Have they played an equal schedule? Well, honestly, they played more quad 3 and 4 teams, and they went 10-3. They lost 3 of those games. Now, why is all of this of any importance if we're talking about the NCAA tournament? Well, for me, I'm really not discussing the NCAA tournament here. I'm discussing the NIT and their use of the net rankings to determine what Power 6 conference invitees get the buys. It's interesting. If you don't remember from an earlier daily delivery, the NITs shuffled how they're picking teams completely. They're leaning on the net. And the top 2 teams from the Power 6 conferences that don't get in the NCAA by net rankings will be in the NIT. They will get they'll get automatic bids and be included in the field and host home games. So 12 of the 16 first-round games for their home games will belong to Power 6 programs. The reason behind that is greater attendance, ticket sales, visibility, maybe better ratings. Will K-State get in to the NIT? I think Saturday's win got them there, but because of that net ranking, I don't see them getting one of those automatic bids for the Big 12. They'll have to go into the at-large pool, and that might mean they're like a 6 or 7 seed, depending on who all's invited to fill up the rest of the 32-team bracket. That's a lot of teams that are out there still after the 12 automatic bids from the Power 6s. They got 20 to dish out, 4 of whom will host. Will it be Kansas State? Like I said, I think they're in now, but I just keep looking at some of these numbers, and it just doesn't make full sense to me. How UCF's net ranking is higher than Kansas State's baffles me, because if it's about playing competition, which obviously Cincinnati is being rewarded for playing 13 quad 1 games, but losing almost 75% of those, I just find it hard to wrap my mind around how they are automatically into the NIT and possibly on the bubble of the NCAA tournament. If they go to Kansas City and win some games, they might be in as the 10th team. Now, the Big 12 really doesn't have any teams right now as we sit here leading into the tournament on the bubble. There's 9 in, and Oklahoma is, maybe the last one. BYU, TCU, Texas. It's a good field that the Big 12 is going to offer. But will they have a team in Dayton? Cincinnati and K-State can earn that by going to Kansas City and winning 2, or in the case of Cincinnati, since they have that Tuesday game, 3, maybe 3. Maybe 2 gets them in. I don't know, and I can't explain it. I am truly baffled by some of the numbers and how the net ranking comes out to K-State being at 71 in comparison to other teams. But that's where they're at. And that's the reality Kansas State has to deal with. And now that resume, after they're done in Kansas City, will get pushed into the selection committee, and we'll see where they sit. My gut tells me if they don't win 2 games in Kansas City, they'll be quickly eliminated. Even if they win on Wednesday over Texas, that's in the tournament, still don't know based on what I'm looking at here if the committee will put them in, but maybe they would. We're going to find out. Basketball starts for the men in Kansas City on Tuesday. There are 4 teams playing on the first day of the Big 12 tournament. It's a new 5-round bracket. And those 4 teams, of course, are the bottom 4, 11 through 14 in the standings. And that is Cincinnati and UCF at 7 and 11. And then, of course, West Virginia and Oklahoma State down there at the bottom. K-State does have a loss to Oklahoma State, so that might be a ding on their overall ranking. I'm not sure, because Oklahoma State is still a quad 2 game. I'm not quite sure I understand everything at work here, and I don't think we're intended to know that, because at the end of the day, it goes down to human choice. And will they value a win by Cincinnati on that first day over West Virginia, a team they just routed? I doubt it. So maybe Cincinnati has to get into the next round and win a game or 2. I'm not sure. But the GoPowercat staff will be in Kansas City. I promise you that, as we will break down everything that the Cats do. It'll be Grant Gilbert and Zach Carlson. I'll be back here in the studio covering things from here. And maybe Big B, Brian Hanley, and I will do some lives around the Big 12 tournament time to bring you the latest from the court at T-Mobile Arena. Thanks for stopping by this Deep Purple. That's 2 days off with daily deliveries. Yesterday, I gave it to Cole Carmody for his women's post-game talk, but I'll be back tomorrow with a daily delivery.